I don't hate Anthem, that's one thing I want to make clear. A lot of people have had this false assumption, I've seen it in comments and tweets, that I just hate Anthem and I'm just looking for any reason to crap all over it. In all honesty, BioWare just keeps on giving. They've made so many bad mistakes with this game that it's honestly shocking that there's still a community hopeful that this will improve. Now, at launch I was saying that I thought it was mediocre, it was okay, and that Kotaku report that came out, it shined a different light into the game that honestly was surprising but not that shocking at the same time. I think it was clear that this game was not ready for release, and that's quite shocking with the game being in development for 7 years, but that just shows how much mismanagement and chaos there was in the development of the game. And as we went through the Kotaku report a few weeks ago, we found out that the game has really only been in development since around E3 2017, where we got that fake gameplay trailer, which really was more of a concept than anything. Now, there is a question to be asked right now, and that is, do you think Anthem is worth $60, or do you think it is a complete product? And I'm sure there's a conversation or a discussion that can be made about that. Some people probably will believe, yes, this is worth $60 right now, it is a complete product, and I know there's a lot of other people that feel, no, this is not, and that Kotaku report kind of confirms it. And I'll actually bring up one point of the article that I found very interesting. So here it says, by the end of 2018, those who remained on Anthem wish they could have had just a few more months. Under Mark Dara and the production staff, there was real momentum, but it became clear to everyone that the game would not ship with as much content as fans expected. They came up with some artificial solutions to extend the campaign, like challenges of the Legionnaires, a tedious mandatory part of the main story that involves completing grindy quests in order to access tombs across the game's world. Originally, according to 2 BioWare developers, this mission included time gates that might force players to wait days to complete it all. Fortunately, they changed this before launch. That mission was too controversial even within BioWare, said one. The reasoning was to definitely throttle player movement. So there's definitely a lot of people in the Anthem community that feel that this game is more close to an early access state. And I can understand that argument. When you look back at that E3 2017 concept trailer that was really fake, there was a big emphasis on Shaper Storms, which is now Cataclysms, and that's still not in the game. That was actually one of the features that was just delayed, I think, a week or 2 ago. And I think there's a lot of people that are pissed right now not knowing when that content will come, because that's really the driving force of remaining with this game and playing it, because there's hope that that'll be the redeeming feature, I guess. Anyway, it looks like a lot of Anthem lead developers are finally moving on, which that is definitely sad and horrible news to those who are hoping that this game will improve over time or get some major groundbreaking content in the future. And this really is the live service story in 2018-2019. All these huge AAA live service games, they all have the same things in common: the chaos, the microtransactions, and the player anger. But let's continue on, because this Games Radar article points out in recent weeks 3 key members of Anthem's lead development team have departed from work on the project, including executive producer Mark Dara, lead producer Mike Gamble, and lead director Jonathan Warner, with only the latter intending to return to the game following a personal sabbatical. So to a lot of Anthem fans, this is horrible news, because it seems like BioWare is moving their focus onto Dragon Age 4, and internally, I'm sure that's exactly what's happening. With any of these big live service games, there's a small team that's kept to the side and they remain working on games. Like with Fallout 76, I'm pretty sure Bethesda Austin is really the only ones working on the game right now, with the main Maryland office obviously working on the next big Bethesda release, being Starfield, a single-player experience. Now, for some context of what people have been talking about and why they believe that these Anthem leads have moved on to Dragon Age 4, the context are these tweets. First, coming from Mark Dara, who wrote on May 1st, "We are not working on Dragon Age 3, we are not working on Dragon Age 5. I guess that's that." And obviously, this makes a lot of sense. Mark Dara was pulled from Dragon Age 4's development to help out with the Anthem crisis. That was something that was mentioned in the Kotaku report, and now he's shifting his focus back to Dragon Age 4. Now, somebody did respond, "You personally are no longer working on Anthem, correct? And neither is Mike Gamble and Bio Warner, who's reasonably out dealing with family. So who exactly is in charge of Anthem currently? Ben Irving? And any clear leadership, or have you all moved on?" Mike Gamble actually came in and responded, "Ben Irving Irving and Chad Robertson are your dudes to follow. Now, there's been a lot of discussion. Is Anthem's development winding down? Is the future of Anthem doomed? And the answer to that question is really unclear right now. Obviously, the Anthem leads are moving on. That's something that happens in game development. There's no real shock with that. But then you have to have the discussion of, should they be working still on Anthem because of how incomplete it is? You know, with these live service games, you have Epic Games who unfortunately has been crunching their employees. I think that there's like 1,000 on staff. That's why Fortnite has been able to have all these consistent updates, and that's why it is the biggest game in the world right now. With Anthem being so lackluster at launch and with all this content being delayed, there is a lot of people asking, should they still be working on it to get it into an acceptable state? And then this gets into the conversation of some people believing that it already is an acceptable state, and then some people believing it's unacceptable, that the content's already being delayed, the stuff that was promised at launch, and we'll get back to that a little bit later. But Chad Robertson did actually make a statement, and this is what he said. "We remain 100% committed to Anthem and look forward to showing players the new content we are working on. We want to make sure we aren't over-promising, so our updates on what's coming in the game will be focused when we have things near completion. Along with Ben Irving and I, we got a big team between Austin and Edmonton focused and motivated for improving the game. We appreciate your support and for being on this journey with us." Now, the one thing to recognize is that these Anthem leads, there was no mention or none of them came out and said, no, we still are working on Anthem. This was just BioWare saying, no, we still have a large team working on Anthem. And the thing is, even before release, I'm sure that this same team was probably still going to be set working on Anthem. I don't think that it's been impacted at all. I don't think that there's a major part of BioWare working on Anthem. And honestly, with how sales and the microtransaction sales have been so far, I don't see any reason why Electronic Arts or BioWare would want to keep a team on Anthem. This is why a lot of people have said maybe they should just move on from Anthem and start work on Dragon Age 4. Because honestly, long term, I have doubts about the future of this franchise and this game. Like, I found this interesting quote. Let me go all the way back. 2 years ago, Patrick Soderlund said this about Anthem: "It's a social game where you and your friends go on quests and journeys. It's a game that we've been working on for almost 4 years now. And once we launch it next year, I think it'll be the start of a 10-year journey for us." Something that was said about Destiny, and obviously something that was said about Anthem, and neither was true, although technically it is true for Destiny, just with multiple, whatever, you get the point. Now with Anthem, I don't even know if we're going to see BioWare get back into this franchise ever. There's questions to be asked, because after Dragon Age 4, which is probably years away, I'm guessing Mass Effect's going to be next, I would think, and then maybe Anthem 2, but that even then, that really depends on if this game can have a rebound, because there really is no interest in this franchise right now. There's just a lot of chaos, there's a lot of disappointment, and a lot of players feeling burned. If you go to the Anthem subreddit, that's all it is. People angry at BioWare for their failure to communicate with what this game is, and you know, obviously the delay didn't help with anything because people have been waiting and waiting. Oh, and before I move on to my next point, I did want to mention that this Game Rant article from 2 years ago said, "If Destiny has shown anything, it's that even the best laid plans can falter. But barring the unlikely scenario of Anthem being a disaster, it's safe to say the franchise will be around for a very, very long time." Yikes. Wow. How that has aged poorly. Now, I said this before, but the microtransaction sales are going to be the key. You see this with games like Fallout 76 and even Black Ops 4. Huge live service games that are introducing more microtransactions just because they want to make more money. And with Anthem, I just don't see it possible that these current microtransactions are going to be it. There has to be more coming, and Mike Gamble said this, I believe it was a few months ago back in late 2018. BioWare is hoping to attract as many people as possible, making the pool as wide as possible to support the game as long as possible. So even if we don't have lots of people spending lots of money, we're hoping the economy is such that we have a number of people who can support the game. Having whales is great, but we don't cater towards any particular group. Some people have more time than others, some people have less time than others. And that's just where we leave it. And there is one interesting point that I want to make. We've seen an increase in microtransactions for certain cosmetics. A lot of people have been pointing to that being some sort of testing the waters, and I seriously believe that is the truth. truth. I believe that BioWare is seeing what they can get away with. So far they aren't getting away with anything because they're being held under a microscope. Every single decision they make with this game, people are going to be critical of it, and it's for good reason. A lot of people are disappointed at what Anthem is and could have been. Anyway, the main point that I wanted to make with this video was that yes, Anthem's development, Anthem's lead developers are moving on to Dragon Age 4. Anthem is no longer the focus at the studio. There is still definitely a team committed to the future content, and that probably is largely because they need to make sure that they deliver on this content. You know, there's going to be a lot of accusations of false advertising, and there's just going to be a lot of angry fans if this content, the Cataclysms, don't come soon. So it is in their best interest to get this content out as soon as possible. But beyond that, if you're expecting any huge story expansions, I find it unlikely that that's going to happen. I mean, if we go to the Anthem subreddit, the top comment right now is, "I got a full refund of my pre-ordered copy of Anthem from Amazon. I claimed false advertising and fraud." Top comment right now, people, 2 days ago. Pretty insane. And then there's the loot. Loot has to be fixed. That's going to take a long time to just completely fix because there needs to be new weapon variety. There needs to be more cosmetic armor packs. There needs to be a lot of stuff fixed with loot. Loot drop rate's another thing, and even some fans, I believe, found in March that the loot is worthless in the game. It doesn't even matter, so that has to be fixed. Loot is probably their top priority, or at least I hope it's their top priority right now, and if Cataclysms aren't coming, I think a lot of people would be happy to hear news on that soon, and again, something that's in BioWare's best interest to get fixed as soon as possible if this game is going to have a future, because looking at those Twitch stats, there's just no interest in this game, and looking at the sales stats, game's not selling any more copies really anymore, which is bad news for a live service game like Anthem. So I'll end this video saying I hope there is a future for Anthem. I hope it does recover, and I hope that there is a community that is happy with Anthem in the future. But for right now, it just seems like a lot of angry players, and it seems like a lot of lead developers are now moving on to Dragon Age 4, which for those angry players who are wishing to get all the content that they were promised at launch, that's just not a good look for BioWare, which in the last 2 months there's been a lot of bad looks for BioWare, and it just continues to be a mess, and it will continue to be a mess. You look at live service games like Fallout 76, which seemingly is starting to get on a good path for those who have stuck with that game, and with Anthem, I think that future is gonna eventually come, but who knows? Fallout 76, it took like 5 or 6 months of just non-stop chaos before it got into the right direction. For Anthem, will that ever happen? I think so, but I don't know. There's a lot of surprises coming in this live service state of gaming right now. Anyway, this is where I'm gonna wrap up this video. I'm gonna end with this big question. What do you think of the current state of Anthem, and do you think BioWare should be investing more resources in keeping their lead developers on the game, delivering all the content that was promised at launch? Do you think that should be priority number 1 right now, or should they turn their focus to Dragon Age 4? Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below, but thank you for watching. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy this video or found any informative value, and make sure to follow my other social media accounts for updates on new videos. Links are always down in the description below. I'm most active on Twitter, giving opinions on news that I don't always get into video form, so make sure to follow me over there. Also check out my Discord for all sorts of discussion on games, and again, thank you for joining. Consider subscribing for more videos like this, and I'll see you later.